Hey everyone, this is Will for BeYourOwnIT.com, and today we're going to start going through some videos on some of the user support, user requests at our forums. At BeYourOwnIT.com/forum, I've put out a couple of posts asking, what do people want to see new videos on, because, I do work for you guys, and your requests are what I should be making for videos. And we're working on some of the ones that got put up there. Some of them are going to take a little longer to implement so we can make videos. But one of the ones that's come up recently is some people actually wanted to know more about the command line, because a lot of them missed the DOS-based Windows versions. They weren't using computers back then, or they really didn't understand what they were doing back then. And so I guess what I'm going to actually explain to begin with is batch files, which are stored command line programs that you can set for startup, and you can set for a variety of things. And what they're intended to do is to help you automate some processes that you normally do all the time. And in this case, I'm actually going to go through creating a batch file that opens up multiple web pages, because for me, like when I go online, I have multiple tech websites that I like to review every day. And I mean, you could set them up to do multiple email accounts. You could set it up to do like all your social networking. I mean, there's actually quite a large variety of things you could do with this. So let's say we're actually going to get started here, and I'm going to use Notepad++, but I mean, you can use normal Notepad for this too. And it's already open. And what you're actually going to do is save a file. This file's already been opened, but when you'll open a new Notepad file and save it as whatever you want to name it, .bat. And make sure it's .bat and not .bat.txt. You want it in Windows 7. The icon looks something like that. I'll show you what the one in XP looks like too. But we're going to start off with this, and we're going to go at echo off. And what at echo off does is, normally if you had something in your bat file and you ran it, it would actually show up in the a command line. So it would pop up, and you would actually say, well, in this case, I'm not a big fan of Internet Explorer, but we'll go with Internet Explorer dot we'll check out Ars Technica. Actually, we should probably just check out our own forums. Forum. Now, if it looks like this, and you double click on it, you see it'll actually come up and take you to that website. And when you saw the command line pop up there, if you don't have the echo off line in, when the command line popped up, you actually saw what it was doing, and for some things that can be undesirable. So that's at echo off. I know this works with Firefox, but let's see if it works with Internet Explorer also. Nope. Okay. So like I said before, I'm not really the biggest fan of Internet Explorer. So let's say I want to use Firefox. Well, you're like, well, what's Firefox's thing? Well, it's Firefox.exe. But when you run it, you'll actually get an error, which I didn't get because I was testing this before, so it's probably still set up. You'll get an error that says we can't find your program if it's not working properly. You'd put in like C program files, you'd actually find the real spot. If you get errors with programs you're trying to run, it means that they're not in the system path. So you go to right click on computer, you go to advanced environmental variables, scroll down to path, hit edit, and it comes up with this guy. And what you do is you go and you find, like, let's say if I was using Firefox for this and it was giving me an error, you go to program files, you go to Mozilla, you'd find Firefox, you'd right click on it, and you'd take a look at the location. And that's what you'd actually put in the system path. as you can see, when you look at like these other ones, there's a big line of paths in here. There's the semicolon, and then it, you get the actual path, and it's to the folder, not to the application. So semicolon, you could put in another application, and then it would let you run the exe directly from your command line. So we'll leave that the way it is, and now we have let's say we already have Firefox open here, so we run the test.bat. It actually opens up a new tab in Firefox as it is, and but what you can also do, because of what Firefox is, if I could spell, you can write multiple web pages on the same line with Start Firefox, and you get open multiple tabs. So I'll go on and say for me, and then it opens up with all of the web pages. You can simulate this with Internet Explorer by making multiple start iexplore.exe web page commands, and it will start a new web browser for each one. So for some relevance, for some other people, we'll look at like that'll be good for now. No, let's go mail.yahoo.com. It'll take you to MySpace, and I mean, if you're already signed in, you might have better. It might take you right in there. I'm not gonna test that for right now, but it takes Twitter, it takes Yahoo Mail. I mean, you can actually set these up in a way that instead of having to go and bookmark everything, you can actually take this and just be, this is my social networking, social.bat, email.bat. I mean, you can make these a lot simpler. And if you're using XP, we're actually going to go into some of this here. You have to do it a little bit differently in Windows 7, I believe. But with XP, there's a folder called Startup, and you might not be able to see it, but it's in the install. You can find it, and you'll explore it. It'll open it up. If you go to New, actually, I'm just going to go to Notepad and Files, Save As, Test.bat, and you see it shows up in Test. And that's what the old icon for batch files looks like. MS-DOS batch file. Echo off. Start iexplore.exe. Facebook. Oh. So let's say that whenever you want to be on, whenever the computer starts up, you want to automatically load Facebook. I mean, you can actually edit it and put some other stuff in there too. Like I said before, twitter.com on, oops, I almost was a victim of my own mistake. Have a new start IE Explore for each window. Normally I'd probably still use Firefox for this, but I don't have it installed on this virtual machine. So anyhow, the test, it opens up the different web pages. And that's fine. We close that. We take our virtual machine here and restart it. And this is simulating what would happen if you were to actually restart your PC, and it'll take a second here. And what this is going to do is basically anytime you would start your PC, say it was off and you turned it on and you you walked away from it, and when you came back, you would actually be sitting here with all of the web pages that you want, or that you would normally use, would be up and ready for your use. So using these and placing them in the startup folder, you've effectively automated your startup process, and it can make the computer a little slower, but that's the cost of running programs at startup. And in Windows 7 and Vista, you need to change how you do that a little bit. With Windows Vista and Windows 7, there's a little bit different procedure to this. They still do have the startup folder, and you can still place things in there. See, OpenOffice.org's in mine from the still in there from the OpenOffice video that I did a while back. And see, it opened when I started the PC. You can put the web page batch files in there, but if you have a batch file that requires admin privileges, there's a couple of different steps to do it. Some people like to use like the event viewer, and they schedule that and set it up, and just each method kind of has its own little quirks, and there's some problems with it. I think we're going to cover that in a different video, but for right now, that's how you run batch files in XP and Windows 7 and Windows Vista. And the syntax of each batch file really depends on which version of Windows you're using. I mean, the start and the echo and a bunch of other things are all very common to all the versions of the command line. But like, for instance, there's a command that used to be used in like 95, 98 called choice, and it's gone from 2000 XP, and it came back in Windows Vista, and it's got some different functions to it. We'll cover those in the command line videos, but these are batch files, and these are also what's called scripts. If you ever heard them referred to as such, like in Linux, they'll say, this is such and such as a scripting language. These are bash shell scripts. The ones in Linux are usually a little more powerful. The bash shell is a little more fully complete than the Windows command line. There's also a program called Windows PowerShell, and PowerShell is a very feature-complete version of command line. It shares a lot of the same thing that like the bash shell can do is in the Windows PowerShell, and that's more for like server administration, but you can also use it here. This has been Will for Beer on IT, and I hope you've learned something about batch files in this video. Thanks.